morning, everybody. Let me welcome you to this fantastic event, and I wish you to have a very nice conference over the next today and the next 2 days. Let me start by recognizing that I've been in this position as EMEA, Africa, Europe, and Middle East head of government and education only for 3 weeks. So it comes to me a bit fast. Before that, I have been the general manager for Intel in Southern Europe. And as such, for the past, let me say, 14 years, I've been engaged in government and education programs in my home country, in Spain, as well as in Portugal, in Italy, and some others. There, I have seen the long-term commitment that it means to be part of this. I've seen since the inception of the program that we had in Spain to bring the first computer into every school, the computer labs, to bring the computers into the classrooms, and then much more than that, to bring the computing into the whole system. I've seen that for years. I've seen this same program being developed in Portugal since 2008. So by no means being in the position only 3 months, I'm a stranger in this world, and it's a world that I have always loved and get personally involved. During these few minutes I have the chance to be with you, I would like to share a couple of thoughts of where we are. What is the moment that we are living, and why we believe we are at an inflection point at which things are changing significantly. So technology has been changing our lives deeply. Some of the things that we do now are absolutely entrenched with technology. Some of them are superficial. The way we look at news, the way we travel, the way we buy, they've changed our life. We've changed our life much more deeply when you think of the social part of our lives, how it has changed, how we communicate with our family and with our friends. But from my point of view, I believe we are at a moment at which this is going to change more. I think we're really into an inflection point in technology. Computing is changing absolutely. Computing is going to be everywhere, and computing is going to be mobile, and we are starting to see it. So what is happening now? Until now, Internet, the cornerstone of all these changes, have been led by humans. We have been creating data, consuming data. We have been creating all the traffic. What is happening right now is we are at the verge of a new age, and with Internet and data stops being generated by humans, and it starts being generated by machines. Billions of connected devices. Literally billions, tens of billions. Studies suggest that by 2020 we will have 50 billion devices connected. This is going to open a huge opportunity for all of us. An opportunity that is not yet developed, that it's underdeveloping. Right? The opportunity, some of the experts say, is going to represent around $11.1 trillion, out of which 38% will come from developing countries. This will change the way we do agriculture. This will change the way we do the mining, the transportation, the banking, the way we move in the cities, everything. This is happening right now. This will create a new environment in which data will be king. We'll see floods of data. We have seen how, as I was mentioning, people was creating data and the traffic for the data. What we will see moving forward is how this will multiply multiple times. When you think, for example, of a smart hospital will, by 2020, generate around 3,000 gigabytes of data traffic per day. If you think of the autonomous cars, they will generate 4,000 gigabytes of data per day, per car. If you think of a plane, 10 times that. If you think of a smart factory, 1 million gigabytes. Bring all that together into the concept of a smart city, and that is what we are facing. And we're not yet there. We need to make it, right? So it is the right timing to do it. In this environment, companies like Intel need to completely reinvent Intel has been a company centered in the PC. We're no longer that. We are a company focused into empowering the infrastructure and the data centers to support this transformation. Of course, we will also be empowering all those billions of connected smart devices, but there is much more than that coming. Actually, if you think of it, this transformation I was mentioning about Intel is not only Intel. Every company right now is looking at this. At the verge of this huge transformation, it's a world of opportunity, but it's a world of furious competition. Just look at some of these figures. Out of the list of the 500 Forbes companies in 2005, 45% of them are no longer with us. There are 45% in 11 years that have disappeared. Impressive. The average age of a Forbes company, Forbes 500 company in 1990 was 60 years. They had been there 60 years. In 2012, the average age of those companies is 12 years. And moving forward, what do we expect? We expect that a third of the companies that today are leaders in their verticals, the top 20 companies in their segments, will disappear, will go away. There will be chance for many more. Why? Because those companies that embrace digitalization, those companies have better revenue, have better margins, and are more valued. Actually, we believe that with a 10% digitalization increase in the developing countries, we will see a 3.4 increase in the GDP in the next 2 years, in the next 4 years. So it's pretty impressive. So we are at the verge of this full transformation. And you know, nations need to take a step forward there. It's fundamental, right? Because there are two ways you can approach technology. You can be a consumer of technology, or you can be a producer of technology. And we're talking about what we make. It's made and designed in Africa, right? This is the moment for making. Look at these couple of examples. Germany, a worldwide leader in manufacturing. Wonder what are they doing? They're looking at their industry. They're looking at how to transform their manufacturing capabilities. They're talking about Industry 4.0. What does it mean? They get into their factories, and what they do is they put sensors into literally every piece of the equipment that they manufacture. They have cyber physics equipment for almost everything, and they get all the data and put it all together and analyze that. They're investing heavily. This transformation doesn't come for free. They're investing $400 million as a country on this. But if you look at the return that they expect for the next few years, $90 to $100 billion, is very significant too. Look at this other example that I think we all know, right? The Silicon Valley. When you look at the Silicon Valley, what you see is how the technology companies, the software and hardware companies have been able to contribute, to double their contribution to the GDP, while the rest of the companies of the rest of the sectors have only been able to do 45% of growth during the period 93 to 13, so those 20 years. So it's very significant. Actually, if you look at the GDP contribution of the state of California, a significant portion of the value of that contribution today comes from companies that were developed in the past years. These companies have created most of the opportunities for work in the state. What is the kind of workers they're looking for? They're looking for workers who have a strong knowledge of scientific, technology, mathematics. That is what they're looking for. They're looking for high ICT skills. And how do you get there? How do you get to provide that trained, demanded workforce? You do by investing in education. That is the only way forward. So that is why we're here, right? And when we talk about transforming education, we know it's not easy. We know it's very complex. We had headwinds. It is the cultural system. It is the ecosystem established. We need to have the conversation about regulation. But it is our commitment and the future that it's in our hands. and what we want to make. And I know, and I'm using making, because making is entrenched into everything that we do as humans, and it has connotations that I would like to develop. I love this first sentence. I was going through education, and I was told that I needed to find a job. And that was true, and I found one. But reality is the kids that go through education today, in so many cases, they will have to invent their own job. Right? I think that is changing completely the approach that we have towards education. Actually, what we're seeing now is there is a scarcity of these kind of skills. Right? They are not there. They are not waiting. We have the companies now looking for at least 50% of their workforce having these ICT skills, those knowledge that I was mentioning. And actually, if we look forward, we believe that about 77% of the workforce in the future will need to have those skills to be able to contribute in this world. Skills, Anthony was talking about that. We know which they are. We know about creative mindset. We know about adaptive learning. We know about computational thinking. Those are fundamental. We need to get there. What is probably new, and what I would like to focus these few minutes, is about how we get there. And we have some new good tools. And when we think of tools like coding and programming, when we think of tools like robotics or physical computing, these are helping us. There is a community, there is a movement there, the maker movement, that is giving us new support into making these skills more reachable into education moving forward. So actually, this coding, robotics, and physical computing have been there for a while, but they have been thought to be for professionals, for adults. And what we are seeing now is that that is not the case. This is fantastic if we approach at younger ages from beginning. And I give you some examples of how this is happening. This is working through across the different disciplines. Of course, we need to get rich engagement opportunities platforms. But we believe that with this kind of tool, we will be able to facilitate and progress in creativity and into the productivity of education. With this, we move forward from education to entrepreneurship, from entrepreneurship to employability. This is what we want. This is what we need. So just think of how this is going to increase the cohesion of our societies. Just think of it, how this is going to help us build the required competencies and therefore boost the economic development and increase the country competitiveness. This is what we are after. Putting it together has some pieces that we know and some pieces that we need. We are all aware about the need for computers, not an end, but a mean, but we know computers and we know different form factors and we know how to bring them to school. We will need something else if we want to go into the maker environment. We will need this small maker equipment. We will need 3D printers. We will need things to make things happen. We will need the software. We will need the different pieces, the modules to bring it all together. I think Intel, with our partners here, we are in a position to provide all of what you need to step forward and to make this approach a reality. What other countries are doing? This is not something that is totally new. Some countries are already moving in this space. It is about training the teachers, it is about having corps of informants, of people who can help, it's about the software platform. We've seen the Department of Education in the US already creating some make spaces so that the students can get together. We have seen in the UK significant investments in training the teachers. We've seen coding being mandatory in Australia, and we have seen the China government getting into contests in between countries to facilitate this kind of movement. So there are some governments, some countries that are starting to move in this direction. In Europe, we've seen coding becoming mandatory in so many countries, not only in secondary, but as well in primary. So this is already starting to get through. Maker is not new here in this room. For sure, it's not. We have at least 80 hubs of makers that we are seeing throughout Africa. What we believe we need to do is we need to go earlier. We need to make sure we build these competencies before that, so that when they get into the agent for work, they have not 80, but 800. We have 10 times the number of trained people and the number of projects coming too, so that the funnel can go and grow, and we can be much more successful into making. That it's where we want to go. In Intel, you've known us probably, and hopefully we've been investing into education for so many years. We believe in education. Over 15 years, we have had more than 50 million teachers trained. We've been working with at least 300 million students worldwide. We have a programmatic approach into research for improving education. And that's what we're trying to do. And hopefully we can help you, because when we get into programs developing with you, we will go and share that knowledge and get what we learn from other countries into you. So all in all, in summary, I believe we are at a moment at which we can change our future. There are so many things happening right now. This Internet of Things is going to change everything around us. And this is happening, and it's an opportunity open. We're not late for it. It's something we can develop. The companies who will be successful will be those who have the right workers, who have the trained, skilled workers to make that transformation a reality. And if we want to go there, education is the way, that education transformation. And we have no new tools. That is my last message. We have new tools. Students love to learn by doing. This is absolutely rooted in our human capacity. We've been learning, we've been progressing as humankind, sharing what we do, learning by doing. So let's use that for our kids as well. Thank you for your time. I wish you a very good conference. Thank you.